Back in the 1930s, much of the property behind me was owned by the Bolsa Chica Gun Club. It was during that time that a Huntington Beach teenager made a discovery that would change history. We'll visit the site and that former teenager in just a minute. I'm Chris Epting. I'm a writer and a storyteller, the author of several books and many articles about Huntington Beach. And what I like best is uncovering history that you may not be familiar with. This is Hidden Huntington Beach. Bill Kettler is a true local legend. He has spent almost all of his 98 years right here in his hometown of Huntington Beach. Bill and I became friends about 10 years ago when I wrote an article about him and a remarkable discovery he made as a young boy roaming the property of the Bolsa Chica Gun Club. It changed local history forever. I wanted to bring Bill back to the exact site where he made the original discovery, where Bolsa Chica ends at the Brightwater Trailhead. So Bill, you and I were here a number of years ago. I wrote an article about this, and I'll never forget this spot. You were about 13 years old. It's the mid-1930s. This was part of the Bolsa Chica Gun Club, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what was the name of the caretaker there?
Just all I knew was named Shorty.
Shorty. And there were no homes here. I mean, obviously this was just sort of wild open land. But that day that Shorty allowed you up here, it had rained for 4 days.
Prior to that.
And what happened that day where you came right here back in the 30s?
Well, I used to always, after rain, go to the middens. There are 4 middens, which are the garbage heaps of the Indian.
And we see middens
shells
around here.
Yeah.
You can see bits of shell
Yeah.
that date back to Native Americans, right? Like where we're sitting right now.
A lot of people think, that it was because the ocean was up here, but actually the ocean was down.
So what happens on that day up here?
Well, I had been looking in the midden that was over here a little bit. It was pretty good because of all the rain. And I just happened to notice out of my side of my vision that there was something shining over about 50 yards away. So on a slope.
Right.
So I went over there, and there was a skull.
A human skull.
Human skull. And so
What did you think when you saw it?
I thought, oh my gosh, what'll I do now?
So what did you do?
I went home and got a gunny sack. Well, a lot of people don't even know what a gunny sack is, but this was lima bean country, and so I don't even remember what I told my mom or what. But
You collected a skeleton, though?
Oh yeah, I went home and got a gunny sack and a shovel, and I came back, and I know I wasn't supposed to, but I couldn't pass it up because so often I'd seen several archaeological excavations over the other way.
Right.
And they usually were sitting like in a sitting position, and they often had other artifacts with them. And so I thought, well, I'm going to really get some great artifacts from this guy. When I got back and started digging, I found another skeleton. And they both were sitting down, but neither one of them had any artifacts. So
What did that tell you? Did you know what that meant? That there were no artifacts? Right?
No, they weren't that important. Usually they put artifacts with their ruling people.
So Bill, you put these skeletons in a gunny sack, and you keep them for 10 or 20 years?
Yeah.
And what happens after that?
After that, my friend, the Colonel Ted Davis, who was a full-blooded Apache, he said, you should bury those again, Bill. And I said, well, yes. And so we went to the Huntington Beach Cemetery, and because I was, at that time, what most people know as an undertaker, I knew the people at Huntington Beach Cemetery real well.
At
So
Good
I said,
Shepherd it is, right?
Yeah.
They're at Talbot Beach.
Yes. And so they buried them, and I said, I don't even want to know where. And they said, well, we'll put them in an unmarked grave. So it might be in the records, but I don't know
But
where.
they're there today in an unmarked grave at Good
Uh-huh.
Shepherd, these skeletons you found.
Yeah.
Bill, when the developers said that there was nothing discovered back here, that must have really made you think hard because you knew what was back here. And they were probably just saying that to facilitate their development, right?
Yes, At that time, the Indians were saying this was sacred ground. The ones in San Gabriel and the ones in San Juan Capistrano. And supposedly Cole, who was the one that was going to build 4,800 homes on this area, said had done archaeological findings and had found nothing. I came forward then because I said, I don't know how many, but I found 2. So they did a new search and they found over 100. And,
right around here.
Yeah,
So if you hadn't spoken up, they might have gone ahead with the development. And
Well, yeah, it helped in the whole thing because that slowed down things. They had to then do their archaeological findings with local government, and so it's just slowed it down, and they were able to get enough people and money to change the whole thing.
Hey, Bill, in terms of hidden history, this is amazing right here, being at the spot where you made this profound discovery as a boy. But more hidden history, you have a new book that's actually, you just got today.
Yes.
The day we're shooting this, you got the copies of your book. It's called Bill Kettler's 98 Years in Huntington Beach and the World. You've basically lived your whole life here, right?
Yes.
What was it like? I mean, some of the trees that are here right now around us, they were here, they were smaller when you were a kid looking around for skeletons and things here. But what was Huntington Beach like? You said that you actually went to the gun club once as a little boy.
Yes.
What do you remember about it?
I remember that it was inside was beautiful. I'd always wanted to see the inside.
What was it
and
like?
They had a lot of wooden, beautiful wood as wall material, and they had a big, real large stone fireplace, and they had several rooms there for when the members of the gun club came. And I was pretty young then. I think I was 8 or 9 or 10, I don't know, but I don't remember it all.
The Bolsa Chica Gun Club, a famous upscale hunting lodge opened in 1899, encompassed the property where Bill made his discovery. It's a story all its own, which is why we are soon dedicating an entire episode of Hidden Huntington Beach. But what was it like growing up in Huntington Beach? You were the school, I was looking at your book, you were the school valedictorian, right?
Yes, 2 people.
You had 2 people in the school.
Yeah, 2 people in the class.
What school was it then?
Springdale Elementary School.
And out of the 2 kids in class, you got valedictorian.
Yes,
Your book tells a lot of stories about Huntington Beach. It talks about serving your country during the war, great stories about your family. Why was it important to you now to write your book?
Well, I started writing it because my kids, I have 2 sons and a daughter, said, give us some of the history, Dad, so we have that. And so I started that, and it sounds a little crazy, but I really think there's things in the book that would help today with any people that read it. And so I felt that's what I should do.
Well, look, you've set an example. It says here you were honored as Citizen of the Year 2014, served as a trustee of the Huntington Beach Elementary School District, trustee of Coast Community College, World War II veteran, a Mason, led the Rotary Club of Huntington Beach 1953, 1954, school named after you. I mean, you're one of the kinds of citizens that help define a city and make a city what it is. And, you know, your name pops up with a lot of people, and I'm glad you wrote your book because now people can finally learn a lot more hidden history about Huntington Beach.
I kept all of the bad stuff out, you know.
Well, you do write about where we are right now, though, and I really think a big part of your legacy is the discovery you made here, pretty much at this site. I want to show you, I brought along something to show you that somebody lent me that may give you some memories about what you found. Can I grab those really
sure.
quick? Okay, hold on one sec. Well, you know what this is.
It's a cogstone.
It's a cogstone. A friend of mine, who this is in private collection, lent me this because they knew I was going to talk to you today. And you've got a collection of cogstones. How does this compare? Like, I've never held a cogstone. It's my first one, but this one looks pretty good. How does it compare to the ones you've got?
Mine were not as thick and had more cogs. And I was always amazed at them because they had no tools like we have. They had to take another rock that was harder and make it. It's almost beyond belief, you know.
There's so many theories as to what a cogstone was used for. Do you have any theory about what it might be?
I feel it was ceremonial.
That's what some archaeologists think. It was some ritualistic
Yes.
item that was used either in terms of worship or
Yeah.
Some kind of ceremonial use, but they weren't tools, I don't think.
I don't think so either. Some of them had holes
Right.
in the middle, but maybe 1 out of 10 had the holes in the middle.
I mean, these are created before the wheel was used.
Well, the Indians, the Native Americans, never used the wheel.
Right. But it's interesting that it has a wheel shape.
Yeah.
And I think these things are fascinating. How many of these did you find?
3.
And it would have been right around here when you found them?
Oh, yeah. And remember, wherever the land is elevated, there were Indians because they lived on the elevation.
Right. I want to show you one other thing that may bring back some memories to you. Something else discovered right around here. And this is an arrowhead. Now, does this look like arrowheads that you found up here?
Yeah. There were bird points and regular arrowheads and spear points. And this probably was an arrowhead, but it's close to being a spear point.
How might that have been used, do you think?
They were not warlike people.
Right.
So I think they were used mainly to animals.
Hunting.
And there were deer, there were, some people say, antelopes. And the Indians, the main amount here, were here 8,000 years ago, but they left here about 700 years ago. And this was known as the cogstone factory. This seemed to be the central point of making cogstones. And
right here.
Yeah,
now, we talk about the hidden history of Huntington Beach. Usually we're talking about the 1920s, 1930s. We go back 6, 7, 8,000 years.
Right.
It's some of the earliest recorded human history, pretty much right here where we're standing. And they talk about, too, the Native Americans here, 6,000, 7,000 years ago, had elaborate trade going on all the way up as far as where Oregon would be.
Yeah, you see the
very developed
arrowheads,
society.
Cogstones, all of those that were not available here. They had to trade, and I think they mostly traded along the Santa Ana River. That was kind of their highway. Mm-hmm. And so you'll find, and 700 years ago, the Santa Ana River changed direction and moved over to Newport Beach area or Costa Mesa area. But there were still some people here.
Wow. Well, I hope these evoke some memories. I'm very thankful that my friend allowed us to show these on camera. And again, it all ties up together here. This was probably here when you were here back in the 1930s, waiting for somebody to discover it. But were it not for your curiosity as a kid, we wouldn't have had the evidence and proof when some developers, tried to act as if these things weren't here. So it's a good thing that you found what you did and made a record of it and have the evidence, because I think you helped to change local history as well. Well, Bill, thanks for being up here today. It's always an honor to be at this site with you, and I'm thrilled that you wrote your book, and I hope everyone gets a chance to read it. It's a wonderful, wonderful read, and it's the story of a great life lived here in Huntington Beach.
Well, I've been very, very fortunate. I don't know why, but I realize I have one story that I forgot to put in the book. So I'm either going to have to do an insert or write another book.
Something tells me you have time for another book. You show no signs of slowing down. So if I can help in any way, let me know, okay?
I will. You've been a big help so far.